Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Babe, I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, me too. Guess where we're at, guys? We are at Love City Cafe in
Melbourne, Florida.
Let's go. If you are anywhere near the Melbourne area, you have to come check out this place. It's called Love City Cafe. They have become one of our sponsors, and we are so appreciative and so grateful for their support. And we're so happy to be here. They are located at 2787 Aurora Road in Melbourne, Florida.
Man, this coffee is good.
Yes. What are you drinking today, babe?
I'm drinking a mocha coffee. She made me a nice hot mocha coffee. I told her to make it extra sweet. And look at these cups. Love City Cafe.
I love it.
It's nice. What are you drinking, babe?
I am drinking, I don't even know what she put in this, but she put a foot in this because this coffee is delicious. But as you know, I am an iced coffee lover. So I am drinking an iced coffee with almond milk, and it tastes delicious. Listen, they are open from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And their coffee shop is actually attached to their church.
I love that.
So even if you're looking for a local church here in the Melbourne area, you gotta come and visit them. Their names are Bishop Gary and Pastor Tammy Salter.
They are awesome.
Yes,
they're
they
such
are amazing.
great people. They're so sweet.
Yes,
and they're doing such great things for the kingdom of God, and just business and faith and all that. They're putting all that together. That's phenomenal. I really admire them and what they're doing, and the vision that they have is incredible. So we thank God for them and for partnering. I mean, they reached out to us, and you came here and spoke a few months back, and he said you can come back. So amen. Praise the Lord. That's a good thing. When they don't invite you back, that's a problem.
Yeah.
that's a problem, but that's a good thing when people invite you back. That means that they genuinely do like you and so forth. So welcome to Coffee and Convos with the Padillas.
Yes, welcome, guys.
Padillas. I messed it up with the Padillas, and we are on episode 4, guys.
Woof.
And so thank you for your support. I mean, we're continually getting just text messages and emails and all that good stuff. And so it's really encouraging to know that what we're doing is really making an impact in people's life. And so thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for connecting, for liking and following our social media pages. Keep sharing the podcast. Keep letting people know that we're on, and that way we can continue to make an impact in people's lives and influence people and help people better their lives, and really also share the gospel of Jesus Christ in a maybe a different way, a different fashion. So stay connected. Once again, Instagram, Facebook, follow us at Padilla Coffee, and we're going to be having some giveaways on our social media. We had one of the ladies that won a $15 gift card, and so Sister Vivian, right? So she won, and so we want to continue to do that, continue to do gift cards and products and all that good stuff. So make sure you stay connected, right? And so if you have questions and so forth, you can email us, right?
Yes, you can email us your questions, your suggestions, anything you'd like us to talk about, any topic you want us to touch on. Share your favorite coffee recipes with us, because we love coffee and we want to try different recipes. So please make sure you email us at coffee@myelevatedlife.org.
Yes.
So please email us. We'd love to hear from you. I always say, even if it's a testimony, even if it's something, that God has done in your life through these podcasts, we would love to hear about it. And we'd love to even have an episode where we can talk about the testimonies of, a few people and what God has done in their lives through what we have been speaking of, which a lot of the things we talk about at the end of the day are relatable with the Bible and with real life. And so, we want to hear about it. It's a blessing for us to be able to just hear your testimony and hear what God is doing through these episodes in this podcast. So
I love this. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm really, really excited today.
Me too.
So today we're talking about people pleasers,
Yes.
right? And that's kind of the topic that we're talking about. And so, one thing is that a lot of people, they're scared to take risk, right? They're scared to do certain things, right? Drive certain cars. And I'm talking personally because there's been so many times that I've been afraid, or, I don't want to offend somebody because, let me not drive this car because they're going to say something, or let me not dress a certain way, or let me not eat at certain restaurants, let me not get a tattoo, let me not talk a certain way because of what somebody might think or what somebody might say about me. I mean, what has that happened to you? I think that happens to everybody, but I mean,
I love when you're saying that, like caring about what other people are saying.
Yeah.
I believe that if you care about other people's opinions and that takes precedence over you speaking up and defending what you think is right, then what I call that is a conformist. And what a conformist is basically a person that behaves in a way that's considered acceptable by most people, but they avoid doing things that could be considered like unusual or could be considered different, and it's because they don't want to go through any rejection.
Yes.
And so how many amazing ideas, babe, how many amazing, inventions, how many resources, how many dreams, how many goals you've just been sitting on? How many things have you not wanted to do because of the fear of what others might think? What others might say. And one thing that has really ministered to me is that opinions are not necessarily there to kill your purpose. A lot of times opinions are there to deter it. But that doesn't mean that you allow those things to stop you or, to help you to deter you from doing what you're supposed to be doing. The fulfillment of that purpose, it lies in whether you give that person that opinion, give that opinion that importance, give that opinion, that value. Because a lot of people have opinions. A lot of people will come to you and say, hey, well, I don't think you should do this, or I think that's a bad idea, or I don't, and they may not say it that way because now we're living in times where we've always been this way, but people are getting more bolder about what they think about you and what they think about what you're doing. But you got some people that are just silently waiting for you to just fail and just silently saying it's not going to work, it's not going to happen, and so you're dealing with all those opinions that are bringing in this fear in you that's causing you to say, I don't want to do this anymore.
And the things that it's funny that you said that they're silent, but then when you do mess up, it's like, they're quick to say, I knew it wasn't going to work. I didn't want to say nothing, but I knew it wasn't going to work. But a lot of us would be further in life, further with our families, further educationally, further in business, further in so many aspects if we didn't worry about pleasing other people. And sometimes we have to learn to just be comfortable in our own skin. I was raised, how it was. It was very judgmental background. We came from a church and a religious background where everybody was judging you. So what happens is that let me make sure that I put an appearance of pleasing people. I want to make sure I'm pleasing everybody. I want to make sure I get the approval of pastor, get the approval of the people that are around me. Let me not do nothing too crazy because of what they're going to say about me or what they're going to think about me. And so many times we hindered ourselves and our I think even now we would be further in life, in ministry, in everything if we didn't worry so much about what people were going to think about us or what people were going to say about us, right? And so you have to know, and that's where you have to know who you are in God and what God has called you to do, because not everybody's going to understand what God is telling you to do. And once again, people may think that you're crazy, but look at Jesus. They thought Jesus was crazy, right? But in the end, they realized, well, Jesus was the real deal, right? And so we have a choice in life. We can either please people or we can make a decision to please God.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that a lot of times, now that we're speaking, on people pleasing and people's opinions, I believe that there's many reasons why people are conformist. But like I said earlier, I think one of those reasons is because people don't want to be rejected.
Yep.
They feel like if I launch this business, if I start this ministry, if I do what God is telling me to do, so and so is not going to support because I already heard her saying this or heard him saying this, that, the other. So what's happening is that we are giving more power to the opinions of others, more than we are giving God, the power of our obedience. And so we're valuing the opinions of people that people may not even have. And what I mean by that is that sometimes, in one of the episodes, I believe it was the second episode when we spoke about me versus me, a lot of times it's not even what you're putting in your mind that other people are thinking about you or their perception or their opinions. A lot of times is what you're saying to yourself. A lot of times you're saying to yourself, well, people are not going to support me. People are not going to buy my book. True. People are not going to, they're not going to show up to my ministry events when I open up this ministry. They're not going to do this. They're not. And it's not that people are saying that. We believe to ourselves the lies that we are telling ourselves because no one's really come to us and said, hey, if you start that, I'll never show up. Hey, if you do that, I'm never going to support. It's us saying that to ourselves because we feel like there's some form of inadequacy in us that's telling us, nope, you can't do it. Nope. And it's really the voice of the enemy as opposed to the opinions of other people. But I say that to say that a lot of these opinions that we think we're hearing are coming from the enemy, number one. And then the opinions that are coming from people, we're adding more value and more, importance to those opinions as opposed to what God is saying about what you need to do. And so when we give more power and importance and value to the opinions of other people, we are basically telling God, your voice is not powerful enough.
Wow.
Your voice is not powerful enough because I'm going based off of what people are saying and what people are thinking. And what about what God is saying and what God is thinking? How are you responding to that?
Correct.
Which is what really matters at the end of the day.
That's right. I mean, Galatians tells us, am I seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. So pleasing people is going to hinder us, whether it be in what you were saying, in the sense of, hey, people are not really saying things, but it's our own insecurities and so forth. But regardless of what it is, if we're trying to please people, it's going to hinder us from doing better, from trying to do better things. And we don't want to offend people. We don't want people to think that we're bougie. And if God is blessing you, that's fine. It should be a testimony, right? And if God did it for you, He's going to do it for them. So it's okay. Just don't be afraid, amen, to do what God is calling you to do in this season. Because, I mean, once again, if you don't want to drive a certain car or this or that, who cares about that stuff? Man, if God is blessing you, once again, that's going to be a testimony. Look at David in the Bible, right? It was David when he fought Goliath, right? But when he defeated Goliath, what happened? When that giant fell on the ground, now the people of Israel, they ran against their enemy. They were scared in the beginning, but there was that one man named David that stood up, that did something. He didn't care of what people would. Even his brother was like, what you doing here? You're bringing us a lunch. You're just trying to be here. You're trying to be nosy. Go back and tend the sheep, right? And he's like, no, who's this guy that is messing with our people, that defying the God of Israel, right? And so what did he do? He knocked that giant down. He didn't care what people were saying. He didn't care what people were thinking, right? But he did it. And because of his obedience to God, what happens? Now we see Israel having the victory, and the people that were probably looking at David like he was crazy, now they got up and said, oh my gosh, this David, he's great. I'm sure they were around him like cheering him on. They probably put him on their shoulder. They put David on their shoulders and was probably walking around and saying, hey, David, this guy's great. And so it's the same thing with us. It could be you that could be the key to deliverance for your family. But if you're too worried about what they're going to think and what they're going to say, who cares? You might be that breakthrough. Look at Joseph in the Bible, babe. I mean, even Joseph, his brothers despised him. His brothers talked about, but in the end, when there was a famine, right, what did they do? They had to go to Joseph, and because of Joseph, right, they got their deliverance, and they didn't have to work another day in their life. So I came to let you know this morning, we came to let you know that forget about trying to please people in this season. You got to please God. You never know, what the blessing is attached to your obedience to God. So forget about, people will always have something to say, babe.
And I love that you're saying that about, the story of David, because if you read that story, there's a part in there that says that King Saul was like, David, you're a kid. Like,
Yeah.
you there is no way. Like, this man has been torturing us and bothering us day and night, every single day. He is a giant. Look at you. You're like this little kid, basically.
Don't have experience.
Like, you have no experience, fighting a giant, but yet you see David, he had experience fighting bears and lions and all these things, just to protect what God had placed in his hands.
Yeah.
And I love that you're saying that, because even when the king denied the power of God inside of David, because that's what it was. It wasn't really, King Saul, yes, looked at his stature and looked at him, but he failed to realize that David had defeated lions and bears and, all of the above, and it wasn't so much that, okay, well, you're little, you're not, but it was the God in him too, that he was basically being like, listen, you ain't gonna be able to do that. And you will have people like that in your life that will refuse to see the God in you. They'll look at your physical stature, they'll look at how you look, they'll look at all the tattoos on your body, they'll look at your outer appearance, but they won't really look at what you carry inside. And what you carry inside is the anointing, is the power of the Holy Spirit that gives you the power to be able to overcome anything that you face. And I even love the story about the woman at the well. When you look at the story of the woman at the well, she met with Jesus when no one else was there. And it was because she was ashamed of her past. She was ashamed of who she was and what she used to do. And so she would go and gather water at the well when all the other women were gone. And why did she do this? Because she knew that if she was to show up there when all the women would show up there, they were all gonna ask questions. They were all gonna be like, "What is she doing here? She's the one, whispering and talking." And so this woman at the well never went to the well when the other women were there, because she feared the opinions and she feared the confrontation and the rejection that she was going to get from these women had she went in there when it was time for her to actually go in there, when everybody else was supposed to go in there. And I say that to say this, that many of us, and I feel the Spirit of God as I'm saying this, many of us have stopped ourselves in our tracks. We've stopped ourselves from meeting God in a place when we're supposed to meet him, right? And it's because of people's opinions that we do not move and go meet God in the place that God is saying, go and meet me there. Right? But what I love about this story is that although she allowed the opinions of other people to stop her from going when she was supposed to go, Jesus was the one that had to come to her. And he met her there and he was like, listen, like, this is what it is. So I say that to say, don't let the opinions of people stop you in your tracks. And even if they do, God will meet you where you're at.
Yeah, that's good.
He won't allow those opinions to stop you. He will continue to remind you and tell you, listen, this is what you need to do. So obey the voice of God. Forget about what people are saying. Forget about what they're doing. Don't put so much importance and value on other people's opinions and go based off of what God is telling you to do.
That's so good, babe. I love that. I love all of that you're saying. I mean, and when you're talking, I see like an invisible, like, prison that a lot of us we make on ourselves. When we try to please people, we're creating an invisible prison that we get stuck in. And babe, we know this for a fact, and y'all should know this too, that you can never please everyone, no matter what you do. And there's some people that are listening right now. You're trying to please mama, and you're trying to please daddy, and you're trying to please your husband and your parent, all this stuff. And listen, you're never gonna please them, and you're waiting for the approval, and you're waiting for them to just pat you on the back and say good job. Listen, sometimes you're not gonna get that, but I want you to know today that God has already placed his stamp of approval over your life. Listen, not
Yes.
everybody's going to agree with your decision. There's going to be people that get mad at what you do, at what
Come
you say, and
on.
how you do. And once again, it's so important that you said that about the fear of rejection, because that's such a big thing. We want to please people because we don't want mama to reject us. We don't want daddy to reject. We don't want our wife to reject us. We don't want the people in the church to reject us, and that's keeping us in this invisible prison, right? And we have this fear that people are going to talk about us. Well, baby, people are going to talk about you regardless, right? When we try to do good, they talk about us. When we do bad, whatever we do, whatever decision we make, if I don't do nothing, they're lazy. If I do something, they're too sporadic, and they're too aggressive, right? And so a lot of times, once again, we're stuck. Right? And I'm just so excited. I'm talking about this, but I'm so excited because it's something that we've experienced. We get stuck because, we fear the fear of disappointing people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The fear of disappointing people. We want validation from people. But listen, once again, God has already placed his stamp of approval, of validation on us. Right? So stop losing yourself trying to be somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that the opinions of when you look at a person that has a bad opinion about you or about what you're doing or what God is telling you to do, I suggest you look at their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that have such a negative mindset and a negative opinion about what you're doing or about what God is telling you to do are people that haven't constructed anything in their lives.
Yeah.
Are people that they have nothing to show for the years of the gifting that God placed in them.
Yeah.
It's like, they're gifted, they have potential, but they don't live up to it.
Yeah. And
they don't obey. But look at their lifestyle. When you're hearing these opinions, you can't do it. I don't think it's gonna work. Look at that person and look at their life and what fruit they are showing.
Yeah. But I mean, and when you said that, and I want to get this out here, and you can take the mic back, but it's like they say it's constructive criticism, but it's kind of like you said, how are you going to take constructive criticism from people who never constructed nothing?
Yeah, that's good.
That's
it's
good.
That,
this is how you buy a house, but you still live in it with your mama.
Yes.
You don't take it by, this is how you get out of debt, but that person still has student loan debts. And, stop taking constructive criticism, because that's what people disguise it. This is constructive criticism. But they've never constructed nothing. They've never done nothing. Or suggestion. But look at their own life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be successful, look at everybody else and do the opposite of what they're doing. I mean, because the average person is doing stuff and they're stuck, they're stagnant, and those are the people that are quick to give their opinion, to give their suggestions, but they ain't doing nothing.
They're projecting.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people that have these negative, opinions about you and what you're doing, they don't value themselves. They don't see themselves in high regard, so they want you to see yourself in the same way.
Yeah.
So anything I say that can affect you, I will say it, because I want you to look at yourself the way I see myself.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it has to do with them seeing something in you that they don't see in themselves.
Yeah.
You accomplishing something that they've never been able to accomplish.
That's so good.
You're living a dream that they were never able to live. And so you cannot stop your life, pause your life, deter your life.
Yeah.
You cannot be in this place of being stagnant and stuck because of what people are going to say, what people are going to think, what they're going to say about you. No, the devil is a liar.
Yeah.
You have potential. You have a gift. There is something on the inside of you. You have a voice. You have a word, something that the world is needing. And here you are stopping yourself because you are too worried about disappointing somebody.
Yeah.
And you're too worried about, what if they feel bad? Because what if I become successful and then they feel bad? So what? You've put in the work.
Yeah.
You've been obedient to what God is telling you to do. And let me tell you this, because I think a lot of us as Christians, we have this mindset that if God's hand is on it, there's not going to be no criticizing. There's not going to be no attacks. Everything's going to go smooth. Everything's going to go well. Well, let me tell you, let me get you out of that bubble right now and out of that lie, because whenever you are working and you are doing the will of God, there is going to be opposition. opposition. There's going to be haters. There's going to be liars. There's going to be lots of opinions. You are going to get a lot of negative feedback, but you cannot allow that to stop you or deter the promise that God has placed inside of you.
That's so good, man. That's so good. And like I said, I mean, even just once again, as you're talking, I have so many things that are just running through my mind. You know, I'm ADHD and I have all these different things, right? But just even the fear of like losing, you know. Let me tell you something. It's not a loss. They're lessons.
Yes.
How many times have we tried something? And I'm sure people are thinking about us.
Talk about it, babe.
Listen,
talk about all the times that we have failed.
We've tried so many things, and but they're not failures. They're lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have to change my vocabulary about that. That is not a failure. It's not a loss. It's a lesson. I learned how not to do that again, and be better. And so I can, because even right now, doing this podcast, you know, some other opportunities that we're going to be doing, some other things that we're doing, you know, we can say, well, what are people going to say about us? That we're always trying new things, that we can never stay consistent to something. But the thing is that sometimes God is moving us in different directions and we're learning different things. So I'm not ashamed to do that. I think it would be worse if I didn't do nothing at all.
Yeah.
I have a dream. I want to leave a legacy for my children. I want to leave a legacy for my church. I want to leave something for you. I want us to break generational curses. And so I'm going to keep trying until we reach that point where we're making millions of dollars and blessing people and have the transitional home and have all these projects that we have going on. I'm going to do it. And if I have to try over and over again, I'm at the point in my life where I don't care what people think anymore.
Yeah.
They can say what they want to say. Well, Pastor Gabe is trying something else. Well, didn't you try this and didn't work? Well, I don't care. You can give me the look, but baby, one that you can look at.
Boy, we've tried some things.
I tried Herbalife. I tried selling furniture.
The thrift store.
I mean, I had some other plans and some other ideas, and all those. A lot of those things didn't work out. But you know what? I'm not gonna give up, and I'm not gonna stop because of what somebody might think of me, and they think I'm crazy, and I have all these different ideas that I'm never consistent. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
You know, because there's gonna be something that God's gonna put the oil on it, amen, and it's going to catapult us to the next level where it's going to bring freedom, not just for us, because people don't realize this is not just about my wife and I. It's for whoever is connected to us. It's whoever's connected. It's our children. It's our church. It's our friends. It's the people that we meet on the street that we're able to bless. So this is more than, so what we're trying to do and why we keep pushing is because we want to leave something so that when we're not here, and man, there's something that was left for my great-grandchildren and the grandchildren of the people that were connected to our church and our ministry and all that good stuff. So,
and I'm loving how you're saying that, because I think another one of the things that have stopped us from doing what God has called us to do is the disappointment. You know, the disappointment that has come from feeling like I've tried so many things and it has failed. But if I'm being frank and I'm being honest, you know, not everything we have done has been God's plan. A lot of the things we did was our plan because we wanted to be successful and we wanted to do this, that, the other. And that has really taught us that, hey, you can have a plan, but if God's approval is not on it, you know, it's not going to work. You know, so with that being said, I want to encourage our listeners today to always go to a place of prayer before making a decision about anything. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the opinion that's going to matter most and the guidance and the wisdom and the knowledge that you need to do whatever it is, you know, that you feel in your heart to do, it has to have the stamp of approval from the Lord.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that you'll be able to be successful in anything that you do as long as you follow what God is telling you to do.
So write that down. Learn to follow God's plan and His will for your life. That's something that you need to, I mean, that's so important. Once again, we do have our own ideas and our own stuff, but one thing we want to make sure that God's hand is on it. That's so important. I do want to say this, that pleasing people will make you lose out on opportunities. It's going to make you lose on opportunities. So you have to make sure that you're not doing that. People,
that's good,
once again, people always are going to have something to talk. I mean, once again, I'm so used to it. They always have something to say. So, you know, and don't be careless. I'm not saying that, and that's where you said, seeking God, praying. Don't be careless, but in the end, you have to do what's best for you, for your family,
yes.
and like I said, if God has your back, that's all you need, right? And if it doesn't work out, in the end, you're gonna have to deal with the consequences, not them. Okay, but don't let that stop you. And I want to say this, and this is something that Mama Kay said: learn to say no.
Yeah.
No means the N stands for not, and the O stands for obligated. No is you're not obligated.
That's it.
When Mama Kay said that to me, I think she preached it or something.
That was a whole
that
level
has
of freedom.
stayed. That has stayed with me, because that's another way that we're people pleasers. That people ask us to do things, and we don't know how to say no.
Yeah.
And so we forfeit everything else because we want to please them. Hey, can you do this for us? Yes. Can you do that? Yes. And so you have to learn, if you're gonna get rid of this spirit of being a people pleaser. I know that's not a spirit, but if you want to get rid of that, you have to learn to say no to people, no to things. And that means that you're not obligated. No means not obligated. You're not obligated to do it if you don't want to. Don't let anybody trick you. Don't let anybody manipulate you or coerce you into doing something that you don't feel called to do. Learn to say no. And that's part of breaking that people pleasing mentality and belief and system. Like you don't have to say yes all the time. You have to learn to put boundaries. And if it doesn't align with your personal vision or what God has in store for you, then you have to learn to say no. Yes. I'm sorry, I love you. It's not personal, but if it's going to deter me and it's going to push me away from what God has for me, and man, I'm going to say no. And there has to come to a point in your life where you have to learn to put your foot down and say no.
Yeah.
You're not, because you're not obligated.
Yes. Pleasing others stops you from pleasing God.
Yeah. That's so good.
And when your main focus is pleasing other people, I think that we get into a place where we feel like because people are tangible, and because you can actually see people and you actually have relationships with people, I feel like we take people's opinions and we're like, man, just because they're like, for example, like your opinion to me, it matters so much.
Yeah.
And I've had to put myself in a place where I say, okay, I value my husband's opinion, yes, a lot, because he is my husband. He is the man that I submit to on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, I have to hear from God. I have to hear from God. And I don't believe that God is going to tell me to do something different that he hasn't already told you to do.
Yeah.
You understand? And so as a wife, I submit to you because I know that you submit to God.
Yeah.
I can't submit to you if I know that you're not fully submitted to God, because then I know you're not hearing from God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we mistake people's opinions and hearing from people. We mistake that for the voice of God.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. Yes, God does use people.
Yeah,
God
absolutely.
does use, there are prophets that God will use and God will reveal things to. But what I mean to say is, don't be so focused on the opinion of the prophet and the opinion of that prayer warrior or that intercessor or that person that prays with you and that supports you and that's there for you. Yes, you're going to grow and you're going to get wisdom from the counsel of the wise, of the people around you. Yeah. But ultimately, you got to focus and hear God for yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if you're constantly going based off of what people are telling you that God said, then that means there's a problem. Yeah. Because you should have some type of relationship with God where you know that if somebody comes to you and says, hey, this is what the Lord is showing me concerning you and concerning this next decision in your life, you're able to either agree or you're able to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I disagree. That's not what God is showing me.
Yeah.
Because you actually have a relationship with God yourself.
Yeah.
And you're not just going based off of what everybody else is telling you to do.
Yeah.
Because I believe that when we do that, when we give the power to people, and we just have to be careful, because sometimes people are like, well, God told me that you needed to do this, or God told me you needed to do that. And then you go and do it and you fail, and then you get mad at God.
Yeah.
Guess what? That was never really God.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was somebody saying that God said, when in reality it was not God. So I think we have to learn to value and discern the voice of God. Have that intimate relationship with God so we're able to hear clearly from him and do as he is telling us to do.
That's so good. I mean, as you're talking, I think of Esther. You know, the Esther, she knows that her people are going to be, you know, demolished or you know, killed, and so, you know, Mordecai you know, talks to her and says, you got to stand on our behalf. And so, you know, what does she do? You know, she can either say, hey, I'm going to please the king and stay quiet and not do this because my life is at risk, or am I going to do what God is calling me to do? And so what does she do? She uses wisdom and she does what she needs to do, and she goes and speaks on behalf of her people. Why? And so in the end, she said, I'm not going to please people. I'm going to please God by being obedient. But she didn't do it rashly. She did it with wisdom. So in this next season, whatever God is telling you to do, is what I'm saying is that do it with wisdom. Seek God. Have him, you know, follow the plan that he has for your life. But don't be afraid of losing anything, of what people may say or what things may happen to you. If God is for you, who can be against you? Don't please people in this season. Do what God's called you to do. But once again, do it with wisdom.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm so excited. This was a great episode. We want to thank you all for tuning in, for listening in, for your support, your love. I mean, it means the world to us. Thank you once again to Love City Cafe here in Melbourne. We are so grateful. Listen, it's oily in here. I almost started shouting and running across this place here. So I'm so excited. Thank you guys for the opportunity to let us record here. It's been a pleasure. And God bless you guys. And we will see y'all
next week.
Yes, next Tuesday. So make sure you tune in, and we'll see you then.
Coffee and Convos with the Padillas. God bless you guys. Love you all.